الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين نستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. Praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the provider, the nourisher for the entire universe. It's Him that we seek assistance from, and guidance from, and forgiveness from. In Him we believe, in Him we place our trust. The Qur'an teaches us that whomsoever Allah guides, may He do left, whomsoever Allah guides, there is no one that can misguide that person or those people. And similarly, whomsoever Allah will misguide, no one can guide that person, no one can guide those people. We testify that none is worship except Allah alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala, alone with our partner. And we testify that Muhammad, to whom the Qur'an was sent, was his servant and his messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says regarding his book, He says, Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala 'abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu 'iwaja. Praise belongs to Allah. For what reason? Because it is He who has sent His servant, meaning the Prophet, and peace and blessings be upon him, the Prophet Muhammad. He has sent unto His servant the book, the scripture, the Qur'an, and has not allowed it any crookedness, or any deviation, or any corruption. This ayah comes from Surah Al-Kahf, or the Cave. It's chapter number 18 of the Qur'an. And I felt it was appropriate to start this khutbah with that reference, because several traditions of the Prophet ﷺ inform us to read that chapter number 18, Surah Al-Kahf, every Friday. So, if we observe this custom, or this tradition I should say, then the first fact that you're informed of is that the Qur'an is flawless. The word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is flawless. The Qur'an contains only that which Allah wants it to contain. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَرَحْمَةً وَذِكْرَى لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Surely in that, meaning the Qur'an, surely in that you had a mercy and a reminder for believing people. A mercy and a reminder for believing people. Repeatedly, we see the usage of the word dhikr, or reminder, in the Qur'an. Sometimes it is used in the Qur'an in reference to the Qur'an itself. In the nahnu nuzalna dhikr, or in the nahnu hafidhun. It is Allah who has sent the dhikr, and it is He who has preserved it. In the nahnu nuzalna dhikr, or in the nahnu hafidhun. So the Qur'an is a reminder. But a reminder about what? A reminder of what? To remind someone means to inform them afresh, to inform them new about something that they should already know in the back of their mind. If I say, this is a quote a sentence in the Quran, وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Do not forget about your share in the world, your share in the dunya. It's reminding you about something, in case you don't know. Don't forget to turn your car off and to turn the lights off, otherwise the battery will go down. Don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that. Reminding us about something that we should already be aware of. This is different. So, what does the Qur'an remind us about? Well, that depends on the reader. That depends on the audience. So, using the example that I referred to short time ago about Surah Al-Kahf. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that everyone read this surah, Surah Al-Kahf, 18th surah, surah before we started the khutbah. Let's say everybody in this room, in this masjid, read this surah, or that surah. Do you know each of us will get something different from what we read about that surah? Each of us will get something different. Whether it's about some theological issue, whether it's about some historical issue, just some sort of fact. Like for example, the story of Musa and Zulkarnain is in that surah. The story of the Ashab al-Kahf, or the people who were hiding in the caves in that surah. There's so many things in that surah. So each of us can read that surah and understand something completely different. Something that is relevant for the reader. As a matter of fact, returning to the nature of the Qur'an contains very little historical narrative. It contains very little historical narrative, especially when you compare it to, say, for example, the Bible or the Vedas. It contains very little historical narrative. And that's because it has not been sent as an encyclopedia. It has not been sent for those reasons, for those purposes. Rather, it is a continuous, ever-relevant communication from Allah to all mankind. At least to those who are willing to examine it with a pure mind, a pure heart. As the Qur'an says elsewhere, لَا يَمَسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَهَّرُونَ. To have awareness of Allah, or for Him to talk to us, the best route is to open up the Qur'an. The best route, if we want to communicate with God, is to open up the Qur'an. That is the best route. The power of the Qur'an is such that upon really reading it, and I don't mean just something else reciting it, for the sake of reciting it, I mean seriously reading it, a reader will feel as if the text is talking straight to me, straight to you. As if it wasn't said to anyone else but me. This is the nature, this is the power of the Qur'an. So there is nothing like the Qur'an. And going into a theological point, of course the Qur'an says that God is one. We say that all the time. He is one and only creator. And God is not manifested physically. It directly negates some ideas that people have about the nature of the concept of God. For example, God is incarnated in Jesus, or the Al-Manat, Al-Uzza, these figures that existed that the Arabs worshipped before Islam. Now, I said earlier that the Quran negates the idea that Jesus is God, right? But when we examine the scripture of the Christians, the Bible, we also see the same thing there. The same thing that is given in the Qur'an. Going back to your mind, now, the Christian Bible reports Jesus himself, Isa alayhi salam, as making this statement. Whoever welcomes me does not welcome me. Weird, huh? Whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but rather the one who sent me. The one who sent me. Another quotation from the Bible, from the Christian Bible, reports that a man came to Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, the prophet Jesus, and he called him good teacher. Good teacher. And so, according to the Bible, in the Gospel of Mark, he says, why do you call me good? Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone. This is not my translation. This is not my explanation. This is exactly how it's written, or how it's given in their text. So the Quran serves as a reminder or as a zikr about important theological points, or important theological issues. And this is important information. And it is important because it helps us to understand some of the goals of the Quran. I don't think that we can understand everything about this, but it will help us understand at least some of the goals of the Quran. Some of the reasons why Allah said this awesome scripture, or this awesome revelation to us Allah.